Hello brothers and sisters, my name is Daidarius and welcome to my manga collection of 2022. Now I know we are in a new year, but this is the accumulation of what 2022 brought to my collection, and it actually brought a lot. And we're gonna take a look at it today, but before we get into the collection itself, I actually want to take a look at what the quote-unquote manga haul of 2022 actually brought. So I have here listed all the manga volumes that I accumulated, and light novels actually, I've accumulated in 2022. Actually a few highlights I want to talk about here. First of all, I managed to finish a few series. The first one is Inuyashiki, where I last year tried my absolute best to find and locate volume 10 and I just couldn't. It was nowhere to be found. But then I actually managed to get it at the end. It was suddenly available on Book Depository and I just purchased that bad boy as fast as I could. Another series that I managed to finish was Full Metal Alchemist in the Full Metal Edition, and holy shit what is fulfilling to finally get it all. Other series that I want to highlight quickly is Rooster Fighter, which is just an insane series that I managed to get to the beginning of this year, and I'm looking very much forward to the next one. No, not the next one, the following volumes. Another series I managed to complete this year was Chainsaw Man Part 1, which was insane good timing considering that Part 2 just started releasing again in the Viz app this year. So, or next former year. So that is great timing, and I'm gonna get to reading that later this year. Another few highlights would be finishing up Blame in the Masters Edition, so now I have all of it. I also managed to get the art collection of the Full Metal Alchemist, which again is more just to actually say my collection is totally complete with the Full Metal editions, but we'll get to that later on. And I also managed to start a few new series in the shonen genre, most specifically Jujutsu Kaisen Black Clover and Kaiju number 8. But that is basically my manga haul of 2022. I managed to accumulate 88 volumes disregarding art books and light novels. So 88 volumes is actually my best year so far in collecting manga. And again, I know it's not that much compared to if you live in the United States or live in Spain, Italy, or I believe Germany and France, because they have a localized manga there, so they are a lot cheaper. There's not that much shipping and import taxes and so on and so forth. But for me, living in Europe and not in those countries, 88 volumes is actually quite good. For me personally at least. But enough of that, let's get a look at my manga collection specifically. And we're gonna start with, as always, on this shelf right here. Alright, we're gonna start with this shelf right here, and as you can see, this shelf only has one series, and that is Berserk in the Deluxe edition by Dark Horse. Now, Berserk is such an awesome series, especially in this edition. The paper quality, the printing quality, the ink, everything just makes Murata's arc spring up of the pages so much. It is much more immersive experience reading it in this edition. Now, it is a bit clunky to reading this edition because that's but that's a sacrifice you should be willing to pay considering how good the art looks in here. Now, I've only read up until volume 7, but this year I'm gonna read the rest because later this year we're gonna get volume 13. I know I don't have volume 12 right now, it is on its way, but we're gonna get volume 13 as well, and that is for now at least what has been announced by Dark Horse they're gonna release. And I'm guessing the 14th volume is gonna be the 2 final volumes of Kentaro Miura, and then the new volume is gonna be by Studio Gaga, and then they're gonna continue on from there. So when I get volume 13, I will have everything available for now, at least in Berserk in the Deluxe edition. I'm gonna read the rest, but this series is such an awesome series, and I'm seriously looking forward to see what it's gonna bring in the future. Now, besides that, there's not much I'm gonna say about this edition, besides the fact that if you have not read it, you should really consider picking it up and just look through it and see if it's something that you would actually want to purchase above the paperbacks. Now, there's a trade-off, of course. It's a lot more expensive, it is bigger, it's more clunky to read, but the art experience is, for me at least, enough of a positive to actually consider it. But anyway, this is an awesome edition, but we have a lot more series to cover, so let's just keep going, shall we? Alright, we are getting to already now the squatting part. So this shelf behind me, I'm gonna get out of the way in a moment, but this shelf behind me actually contains multiple series, but mostly it consists of Naoki Urasawa's work, actually just two of his most famous works, I believe. Now, first off, over here we have Monster in the Perfect Edition, the 9 volumes. And this series is such a great series. It's very realistic in its approach to storytelling, pacing, and just the way it creates thriller and intrigue and such, because it is a slow but very effective and suspenseful burn. Again, if you haven't read Monster, you should definitely give it a go, and especially this Perfect Edition is I mean, it's basically the only way you can accumulate it right now. The singles are out of print, out of stock, rare editions basically, but the Perfect Editions, they are high quality 2-in-1s and definitely a joy to read. Now, besides that one, or next to that one, we actually have 20th Century Boys also in the Perfect Edition. 20th Century Boys I have actually not read yet. It's a series I'm gonna review at some point. What I really enjoy about the presentation of this collection is actually the spine presentation, because a lot of manga series actually kinda neglects the quality of great spines, considering when you have them in your bookshelf, that's what you're gonna see. You're not gonna see the cover, you're not gonna see the back, you're gonna see the spine. And here you have this pixelated panorama picture of whatever this entity with the hammer is. I wish more series would do something like that. It's something you also see Dragon Ball and other series do, but not enough do this where you feel like it is a complete series, because all the spines together paint a picture. But yeah, I'm looking forward to actually reading that. And next to that one, we actually have some Akira Toriyama mangas. Why are they placed there? This is where there were room for it, and they've just fit perfect in, so that's why. There's no other reason for it. First up, we have Nekomartin. It's a Danish edition of some short stories that Akira Toriyama he did after he finished Dragon Ball. It's basically about this little cat character that just does some weird shenanigans and cross over with the Dragon Ball universe. It's fun, it's innocent, it's not canon, I believe, but it is just normal Akira Toriyama humor, and I'm always here for Akira Toriyama humor. Next to that one, we have Akira Toriyama's Manga Theater, which is just a collection of, I believe, the 3 manga theaters that he did throughout the years, which I think is short stories. I've not read this yet, I will this year, but I could not help myself but getting this volume, considering one is Akira Toriyama. I mean, you can think about what you want about Dragon Ball, but it is influential and it has brought the fighting genre into the frontier of the shonen genre, right? But besides that, it is in hardcover, and I'm a sucker for hardcover. You will notice that I have a lot of series in hardcover edition, because I just love hardcovers, and this one is as well. But I'm looking forward to seeing that actually. But yeah, that's basically this shelf. There's not much on it, just basically 4 series, if you can call Nekomartin and Manga Theater a series, but otherwise this is a Naoki Urasawa series. I have one more series we will see later on, but yes, let's just quickly get through the next shelf, because that is not manga related. Alright, I'm not gonna dwell on this shelf that much because it is non-manga related. It's just comics. If you have questions about it, you can of course ask. But basically it's just some Control-Alt-Delete, which is an online comic series. I have the first 10 years and then the new stuff that the author did. It is Valhalla, which is a Danish rendition of the Norse mythology. So if you have just been playing God of War Ragnarok, there's a lot of spoilers for that series in here. But it is worth them. Next to that, we just have some Scrooge McDuck by Don Rosa, which is an, I believe, American or Canadian comic artist. We have Watchmen in the collector's edition with a signature from Dave Gibbons, who is the artist, I believe. We have Blackest Night, the 10-year anniversary omnibus edition, which I cannot recommend getting because those omnibuses is too thick that the gutter loss is actually ruining the story, because there's a lot of information in the speech bubbles lost in the gutter loss. So don't get these big omnibus editions by Marvel and DC because the reading experience is not good. But yeah, I had to get it because I was curious about the story, and the story is fine, but yeah. Then we have one volume of Calvin Hobbes, I think they're called in English. But yes, this is my non-manga shelf, and again, I'm not gonna dwell on it too much because you're not here for non-manga stuff, you're here for manga stuff. So let's get to the next one, which I'm very much stoked about. This is the issue I have every year, because it gets more and more annoying to actually record this the further down we go. But that's just stuff I have to deal with. So this is the shelf right beneath the comic shelf, and this is basically just the hardcover shelf. First off, we have over here Full Metal Alchemist, the Full Metal Edition, the complete series. Finally, as I stated earlier this video, I managed to complete Full Metal Alchemist in the Full Metal Edition. I have not read Full Metal Alchemist in this edition. I have read the story before many times, but not read it in this edition yet. I'm gonna do that later this year. Just in general, I love the look of this series, the alternate covers compared to the singles, and it should come as no surprise that I'm a big fan of Full Metal Alchemist, considering I have scars tattoo here right on my right arm. So, but yeah, if you have not read Full Metal Alchemist, do it. To me, it is still, as of what I've read, the best completed shonen series ever. Once One Piece is complete, maybe I will think differently, but for now, as a complete story from start to finish, as a complete package, planned out and all that, I think Full Metal Alchemist is the best package as of now. But yeah, definitely give it a go. It is such an awesome series. Highly recommend it. Next to that one, we have a book, which is not a manga, of course, but it is Manga in Theory and Practice by the legend himself, Hirohiko Araki. I always only remember Araki. Again, I have not read this yet, I'm gonna do later this year, but basically it's just how Araki creates manga, and more specifically how he created JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So, I mean, if you're a fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you are of course also interested in what went through his mind creating that series. And speaking of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, next to me I have the first part of the first 3 parts. I'm gonna move over here. Ah shit, mic. Here we have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 1, Part 2, and some of Part 3 in the Joniums. And on the shelf beneath, you can kind of see it right here, but you can of course see it in the B-row. You have the rest of Part 3, Part 4, and some of Part 5. Part 5, I think, is gonna be completed this year. And then I'm gonna read it. So for now, I've only read Part 1 up until Part 4. And it's such an awesome series. You can hardly describe JoJo's Bizarre Adventure to anyone, except that, of course, on one hand, be bizarre, and people don't realize what bizarre means in this context until they read it or watch the anime. But yeah, it's bizarre. It's a bizarre version of bizarre. And also it's a generational battle. You follow the generation of the Joestar family. But other than that, you can't really explain it. You just have to experience JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I was kind of on the fence if, am I gonna like it? Yes, it's hardcover, so of course I bought it because I'm an idiot. And then I read it, and it turns out I'm a perfect match for it. I love this series. And I'm looking forward to reading Part 5 once that is complete, because holy hell, it's just so good. What I like about the Part 4 and Part 5 series, just quickly before we move on, is that since it is 2 in 1, you actually get the covers of the 2 volumes confined in them on the front and back, which is actually an awesome thing, and more series should do that. I'm looking at you, Vinland Saga. But yeah, that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Awesome series. Give it a go. You just give it a go. If you don't want to commit to buying all the volumes, watch the anime. Just do it. You will hopefully not regret it, but we'll see. I mean, a lot of people don't like Part 1, but most people like Part 2 and going forward. So yes, but yeah, that shelf. It's one of my most prized shelves, mostly because of Full Metal Alchemist that I finally have it, but also JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Let's get down to the next shelf. There's one more series on that we need to take a look at before going further down. So let's do it. Holy shit, my light can almost not reach this far down. Okay. I'm also out of focus, but then again, I'm not the star of the show. Can you focus on me? I'm gonna move out of the way in a few moments. Alright, so the next shelf. I only have one more series on it. It's right over here. And that is Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 0 up until Volume 4. You can focus on the shelf now. Thank you. Not much I can say about this series, considering I have such a small quantity of it, but I do enjoy it. I think it's actually quite good. It is very much the typical shonen, but I think it is executed well. The art is actually quite awesome and surprisingly precise in the lines, considering it is a weekly series. Maybe that's because I'm more used to, for example, One Piece, which is more fluid and experimental in its lines, or My Hero Academia, which is more exaggerating some movements and camera angles to get a kind of anime feel. Then this one is oddly just precise in its lines. It's difficult to explain. Maybe if you read it or reading it, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the only thing I'm a bit curious about is the relevance of Volume 0, which is kind of a prologue. It begins, or it takes place 1 year before the series starts. Now we have seen some characters introduced, and the story is centered around, in this volume, coming into relevance in this volume. Not this volume, in the series. But besides that, I'm still waiting to see the relevance. It might come at some point. But anyway, it's a fun series. Definitely give it a go. If you don't want to commit to the volumes. Again, as long as it is Shonen Jump, or at least this, Shonen Jump. As long as it's Shonen Jump, then you can just use the Shonen Jump or the Manga Plus app, and you should be able to read most of the chapters at least once. It kind of differs throughout the year if they only allow you the first 3 chapters and the most recent 3, or if you allow you to read all the chapters once, and then if you want to read them again, you have to pay for them. I don't know, but yeah, definitely give it a go if you're into the shonen genre. But that is it. That is my 2 shelves. They are definitely connected, given that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure takes up the majority of it, and it won't be long. I mean, this year, this is gonna get yeeted out of this shelf, and then it's only gonna be JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and then I'm gonna have to get creative because the next shelf is only 1 series and it looks so damn good. But you'll see. So why don't we just jump straight down to the next shelf? So, yeah, this is the most awkward part because I cannot get any further down, as you obviously can see. But I don't know if this is gonna work. Otherwise, I'm gonna move out of the frame. Don't worry. But this shelf right here with my finger, can you see it? Yeah. This is actually Dragon Ball in the Danish edition, because we actually, for a short period of time of 15 years, we actually had localizations of manga here in Denmark. But yes, this is Dragon Ball, and that is what I talked about earlier with spines actually taking into account to make the whole series feels like one complete package. Because one of the things that Dragon Ball volumes are famous for is the connected spines, and it looks awesome. There's nothing bad you can say about it. What I love about Dragon Ball, if you don't know it, how do you do that? Is probably one of, if not the most famous manga and anime in the Western Hemisphere. I know other series have kind of tried to come in and knock it down from its triumphant throne, but arguably have not really managed to do that yet, considering Dragon Ball Super is still in, the anime is done, but it's still in the global conscience anyway. But Dragon Ball is just the most basic, fun, light-hearted, at least in the first part, shonen fighting series you will find. Probably. But yeah, I can highly recommend Dragon Ball. At least try to give the first part, which in this is just called Dragon Ball. And then the second part is called Dragon Ball Z, for some weird reason, because it's just Dragon Ball. Anyway, that's a different topic. But the funny thing about Dragon Ball, at least for me, is that Volume 28, as you can see here, is the first manga volume that I ever bought, which is why it looks like utter shite. It's worn out. But this volume alone has the conclusion of the Namek battle between Frieza and Son Goku, and the beginning of the Android saga with the introduction of Trunks. And that was enough to convince me I need to buy the rest. when it comes out. And I did. And that started my journey. If it was not for volume 28, I might not have started collecting manga. Maybe I would have. But it's fun to think about. But yeah, definitely give Dragon Ball a go. And I'm not talking about the anime, because the anime is slow and filled with filler and such. I'm talking about the manga. There's so many ways to reading it now. There's the Vispix. There's, at least in the DC era, there is a lot. No, not DC. In the Dragon Ball Z era, there's a lot of colored versions. There is the standard editions, box sets, the Viz app, the Manga Plus app. There's a lot of ways to read it, but definitely give it a go. Especially if you are into shonen adventure series. The first 17 volumes is gonna scratch that itch. Just saying. But yeah, I love this series. It will always have a special place in my heart, especially since it is my first one. And then over here, again, it's easiest to see on the B-roll. We have a manga between Akira Toriyama and Akira Sakuma. It's just how Akira Toriyama he made manga and what his rule sets is, basically. It is an intriguing insight of how he did things. He doesn't really do manga anymore, so more like how he did things. But yes, that is my Akira Toriyama shelf. Alright. And then we get to an interesting shelf, which is this one right here. This is my trash shelf. And I know you're gonna see both Fullmetal Alchemist, you're gonna see Naruto, you're gonna see some Pluto. Is that really trash? I mean, I know a lot of people are shitting on Naruto, but do you consider it trash? No. But what this is the cancelled Danish translations or localizations of manga that I have. Volume 55 was the final volume to be localized in Denmark, and then they just stopped because they had kind of overlooked the fact that you need to advertise your books, comics, or mangas, whatever, to get new people to buy it. You can't just advertise in the back of these volumes to make sure that your current customers keep buying. You also need to accumulate new customers. They haven't thought of that, which was stupid, and then they closed down the manga section. So volume 55 was the final one in Naruto. Volume 19 of Fullmetal Alchemist, I know I only have 18, but volume 19 was the final in the Danish as well. And I actually considered buying the box set of Fullmetal Alchemist, but luckily when I seriously considered, I'm just gonna pull the trigger, volume 1 of the Full Metal edition had just been released. So I did that instead, which I'm glad for. And those two Pluto volumes right there is misbuys. They are German editions. I did not mean to get the German editions. I speak very little German. I have not spoken German in 18 years, I think, since the end of my school period. I think it's 18 years. So my German is rusty as shit. And then at the end, I have these Dragon Ball volumes right here. They are utter trash. I liked them when I bought them because it was Dragon Ball in color. That's also really awesome. But basically, it's just, if you know, in the 90s, at the end of the 90s, they made a lot of Dragon Ball movies. I mean, you can call them movies, they're not that long, but they made movies. They made 15 in total, and then Carlsen, who is the publisher of the Danish mangas, I think it's a German publisher, but anyway, they thought it would be a good idea to just take stills, consider them to be panels, and then made a manga out of it. It does not really work. It does not work, because anime and stills from anime are made with the intention of actual animation, whereas mangas is made with the intention of faking movement between panels. Anime stills are not. They are actually showing movements between them. Does that make sense? So yeah, but that's why I call it the trash shelf, because it is cancelled manga mostly, and then the two German the two German volumes. I am gonna get, I know I say that every year, but it is not something I'm rushing, because this is never gonna stop printing. But I am gonna get the box sets of Naruto. Technically, I could just get the final box set of Naruto and then just mix it in with this. But I mean, that would be a bit of a weird reading experience, because first of all, it's two different languages, and secondly, the way the character speaks depends on the translator, and there will be 2 different translators. So I'm gonna get everything from this in Naruto. But I'm still gonna keep this because I have nostalgic value for it, and I was actually in contact with the Danish translator at the time. So that's why I'm keeping it, because nostalgic value. But sentimental value. But besides that, that is my first bookshelf. And we still have 2 more to go. So yeah, time for me to stand up. But yeah, let's do it. Alright, this is the second shelf case, and we are gonna start from the top and move our way down. What else are we gonna do? So first off, right over here, we have Gundam The Origin by Vertical, an absolute gorgeous collection. The story itself is a bit up in the air. I have made a review that has pretty much divided people almost down the middle. I think it stands at 63% ratio of likes versus dislikes. There's a lot of people that love this series, and I think it has a lot of great potentials and ideas, but the execution is not that well, and the protagonist is a unsufferable douchebag for the first half of the series. You cannot stand him. He is boring, nothing changing, and just hurts the series so much that it is him that's carrying the reader through it. Whereas afterwards he kinda changes for the better. But what I do love is that this series is in high quality. It is well built, it's sturdy, the photo paper in there is of high quality, it's not too glossy, the printing, the blacks is as black as a black hole actually, and the watercolor pages is freaking stunning. So it is a bit up in the air if you should get this series. I mean, I do not regret it. I still think it's a fine story, but I also think that the quality of the volumes themselves elevates the reading experience enough for me to not regret actually buying them. And there's not much more to say. So if you are interested in Mobile Suit Gundam, I think this is a fine jumping off point, since it does go over the origin of the mobile suit itself. But other than that, if you're not really a fan, I'm not really sure I can recommend it, but it does look awesome on the shelf nonetheless. Then over here we have All You Need Is Kill, which is a manga adaptation of a novel by the same name, I believe, and also it's the novel that the Tom Cruise movie Live, Die, Repeat or Edge of Tomorrow is based on. It is fine, it is a 2-in-1, it is a short read, but it is interesting, and it is by the same artist who did Death Note, so you know the art at least is gonna be good. Not much more I can say about that one. And then we have Planetes by Makoto Yukimura, who is more famous for the series on the shelf just right behind me here. We're gonna get to it. It's a space slice of life janitor story that throws some curveballs in there, try to explore some themes about humanity, our place in the universe, dreams, sacrifices, so on and so forth. I think it is a great series, but I do not enjoy the second half of the second volume. I think it gets a bit too full of itself. I might need a reread on it with new eyes, but I'm not really a big fan of it. I think it kind of drops the ball of what it set out to do from the beginning, but that's just my take. But it's still a great series. I do recommend it again, since it's only 2 volumes. Next to that one, we have the one-shots volume, Solanin or Solanin. It's actually awesome. It is kind of a slice of life, but also a deep dive into not the human condition, but how humans tackle daily struggles and other challenges in life, basically. And it has one of the most cathartic endings ever. So if you are a bit scared since it's Inu Asano, just believe me, you are gonna be in happy tears by the end. And besides that one, we have Goodnight Punpun. It should really not need any introduction, but if you are one of those who don't really know what it is, this is one of the most depressive stories I've ever read, but it's also very intriguing and fascinating. It's really a deep dive into the depressive mindset of our main protagonist, Punpun. And we follow him from kindergarten until he is 20 or something years old. So it follows different periods of his life and how his outlook, relationships, and just life in general not challenge him, but kind of beat him down. And we get a deep dive into his mindsets becoming more and more depressive and nihilistic. It's very fascinating, but it's also very dark and grim. But yeah, that is basically my top shelf. Again, you may have noticed there's not really any rhyme or reason for how I set up my shelves. It's not by publisher, author, genre, or anything. It's just, does it look good beside itself? These volumes are basically the same height, for example. So they fit here, and that's really it. And they all fit here. There's no room for any more new volumes. So that's basically it. All right, let's get on to the next shelf. Just gonna squat a bit here. Okay, so the next shelf. Over here we can see Vinland Saga. I have all the volumes out right now, volume 1 up until volume 12. They are 2 in 1, so basically I have volume 1 up until volume 24 of the singles. I have yet to read Vinland Saga, but it is by Makoto Yukimura. Oh, I'm always having a hard time pronouncing his name. Who also did Planetes. And I have read some of newer chapters at the end of the Baltic Sea War arc. And what is confined also in volume 12, most of it. But I haven't really touched it because since I have the full series, I might as well just read it at some point. I'm gonna do it later this year. I have other stuff I need to read beforehand, but I'm looking very much forward to just binging this because what I have read, I really do enjoy, and I've only heard great things about this series. Many people consider it one of the best manga ever produced. They're putting on the same pedestal as Berserk, which at least is some words of confidence, I think. Alright, next to that one, over here, we have Death Note in the Black Edition, all 6 volumes. Death Note, again, I shouldn't really need an introduction, but in case you don't know Death Note, it is a cat and mouse thriller, basically, about this high school kid who finds a note that when you picture people's faces and write their names in it, they will then die. What's gonna happen? Read to find out. It is a very intriguing story. A lot of people do not like the midpoint of volume 4 and afterwards. However, I do, but I also agree that the first half is a lot stronger than the second half, but I do love the conclusion of the story. Then next to that one we have Death Note short stories, which is just short stories that is chronologically occurring after the series has finished. They are actually quite fun. They explore interesting ideas regarding the concept of the Death Note. I have not read this yet, but I have read the short stories. So, but I'm also gonna get to that one. Next to that one we have Death Note How to Read volume 13, because original in the singles there are 12, so the extra volume should be volume 13. It's just a data book and some background information on how the author and the artists created Death Note. It's rather intriguing. And then next to that one I just have a Death Note replica. It is a cheap replica of a note, Death Note, with some Easter eggs put into it, like if it was the Death Note that Light Yagami used himself in the series. It's quite awesome. I actually like this one. But yeah, that's this shelf. There's not much to say about it. Alright, let's jump on to a more weird shelf. Yeah, I can't really explain it, it's weird. Alright, so this shelf behind me is a bit weird to explain because it's just a mishmash of different things. But first off, over here we have 2 volumes of Shonen Jump. It confines chapter 999 and chapter 1000 of One Piece, and I'm a huge One Piece fan. So I wanted to celebrate that big milestone by getting these 2 volumes. Then next to that one we have a One Piece Color Walk, which is just the art book collection of One Piece. This one is in Danish, but as I have said earlier, everything manga related got cancelled in Danish for like 14 years ago or something like that. So after that, I found out that Viz also did the color walks, the released color walk 1 and 2, and then they said, fuck it, I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna do compendiums instead. So they released compendium 1 and 2 of One Piece, which has color walk 1 up until color walk 6. And there is, at this moment of this recording, 9 color walks in total, which means we have room for 1 more compendium, which is gonna be released later this year. I mean, technically Viz already released it, but I'm not getting my manga from Viz directly, so I'm gonna get it a bit later this year. But yes, those are those, and the printing quality in those are actually quite awesome, so I like that. Next to that one we have my Full Metal Alchemist art book collection. As I touched upon before, this is more because that I wanted to kind of put a period at the end of my accumulation of Full Metal Alchemist. I got the whole Full Metal edition, and then I just wanted to finish it off by getting this art book collection. The only gripe I have with it is that it came damaged. It has a little bit damage down here, and not sure I could send it back, have my money refunded or get them to send me a new one. But the damage is so minuscule and I didn't really care. I just wanted to finish the collection. So I thought, fuck it. So that one we have 3 Naruto art books. The 2 first are in Danish and the 3rd one is in English. It's this, because I just wanted to finish it off. There's only 3 art collections for Naruto. The 2 first ones are actually quite good because they have a lot of commentary. Whereas the 3rd one has nothing. It's just a collection of the art itself, and that's basically it. So I'm quite disappointed, but at least I get the art in big color. So that's something, I guess. Next to that one we have the Great Dragon Ball book. I think it's called A Visual Story in English. It's just all the art collection from Dragon Ball. There's an awesome interview with Akira at the end of it. But yeah, it's basically just an art collection. And next to that one we have a fan-made how to draw Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. It's interesting to see some of the techniques they have observed Akira Toriyama using when creating Dragon Ball. Alright, I'm just gonna move over. And then here we have Akira, this legendary, awesome series. And I can't say much about it, except it is one of my favorite stories of all time regarding manga. It is so well done. There is almost no wasted page in this whole collection. It is insane, the quality of it. And then next to that we have Akira Club, which basically is just a combination of an art book, background material on how the story and series was created, the collected volumes of the manga, and the movie itself. It's a lot of things in one, but it is awesome background material. So yeah, and that's that shelf. As I said, it's a bit difficult. It's a bit of a mishmash of a lot of ideas, but mostly it's because these are tall volumes, and this is the only shelf I have room for them. So that's why they're here. Alright, let's jump on to the next one, shall we? Okay, this shelf is also a mismatch. There's not much to say about it. So we're gonna start off with a series I'm looking very much forward to read. But I'm gonna do a review on it at some point, and I can't really do it right now. I might get around to it later this year, but I'm not making any promises. But it is the only series I have left of Naoki Urasawa, and that is Ludo. Volume 1 to 8 complete. This is the series when I was collecting it, I misbought the German volumes because they were getting out of stock at that point. Don't know much about it except that it's retelling of the Astro Boy manga Pluto arc. And all I know is I like Naoki Urasawa, even though I have only read one of his works, which is Monster, but I don't really care. He has proven his worth, so I'm looking forward to reading Pluto at some point, hopefully this year, but we'll see. Next to that one, we have the only 3 Junji Ito books that I own, and there's a good reason for it. I bought these because, as I've stated before, I love hardcovers. I can't help it, and they looked awesome, they looked high quality, so I bought them. And I also knew at that point that it was a horror manga, and I thought, let's try horror. Maybe it's something I like. I need to expand my vision a bit when reading manga, going off to find manga stories. It shouldn't only be shonen fighting series. It should also be other stories, slice of life, seinen, supernatural, realistic, horror. So, what do I think about the stories? Not really that impressive. I mean, Gyo is a fine, complete story, but it's not that scary at all. Uzumaki is almost excellent, but it throws everything away when you get to the ending. And Tomiya is just a collection of short stories that I'm not really that impressed with, except for 2 or 3 stories. But I'm not gonna sell them. 1, I still like the build quality. 2, I do enjoy how Junji Ito tries to depict horror. It is an interesting concept, at least, even though that I do not appreciate everything else he does for his storytelling, or lack thereof. And also a reminder for myself to don't just buy stuff because they look awesome. Try to investigate if it's something for you. So there you go. Alright, Next to that one we have Fire Force Volume 1 up until Volume 19. I have not read Fire Force yet. I'm gonna soon, very soon. If I haven't read anything related to Fire Force, why have I already accumulated 19 volumes? Because I am currently reading Soul Eater and I enjoy that series fully, and it's by the same author. This is just his latest work. So that's why. And at the tail end we have Sundome, which is a ecchi series. It's weird, it's over the top, but it has some awesome moments and great character development for not the main character, but one of the side characters. I also have a review on it if you're more interested in what that entails. But yeah, it's a fine series. I do not regret buying it. I do think it has a lot of cool and interesting ideas. And also, this is stupidly out of print. It's not out of stock, it's out of print. Yen Press does not print this anymore. But yeah, that is this the shelf right here. So I've read basically half of it. But that's fine, that's fine. I'm gonna get to Fire Force soon. Alright, let's jump down one more shelf. This is gonna be a short one. Alright, the next shelf gonna be brief, short look on it because I have not read a single volume yet. And I have a lot of it, and the reason I know I'm gonna enjoy the hell out of it is because I'm a big fan of the franchise. It is Pokemon Adventures from Volume 1 up until Volume 41. Basically it's just red, blue, gold, silver, ruby, sapphire, fire red, leaf green, diamond, pearl and platinum, and the first volume of Heart Gold and Soul Silver. The second volume is stupidly difficult to get, but once I finally manage to get it, I'm gonna then collect black and white, and then black 2 and white 2, and then start collecting the newly released versions of X and Y, because those volumes are standard, where the ones that are currently out are very, very thin. So yeah, I have not read the series, but I'm a big fan of the games. Up to a certain point, I have played Generation 1, 2, the remakes of Generation 3, so I have not really played Generation 3, but remakes I have. I have played Fire Red and Leaf Green, so that part of Generation 3 I have played. I have not played Generation 4 or 5, but I have played Generation 6 and 7, and then I just went, I think I'm done, unless they reinvent themselves fully, and actually Game Freak is gonna start giving a shit when making games, but anyhow. I love the stories, and since this manga follow the story in the games, I think I'm gonna enjoy it a lot. But yeah, that's just all I have of Pokemon Adventures, and I hope probably not this year, but next year I will catch up to where the story is right now, at least in English. But yeah, that's Pokemon Adventures. Let's get to the two final shelves on this bookshelf, shall we? Alright, so we're down to the two final shelves in this bookshelf or bookcase. The first series right behind me here is... shit, I'm getting out of the way. Right here is the Danish translation of Yu-Gi-Oh! All of it. It's one of the few series we actually managed to get all of it before it got cancelled, right? I actually enjoy the manga series of Yu-Gi-Oh! It is well told, very grim compared to the anime, and very cohesive. And the art starts out exceptionally rough, but get awesome by the end. And then next to that one we have these two red and blue volumes right here. It's actually just teasers, kinda short advertisements of manga you could get. It has a few pages of given chapter, often the first one, of different mangas to get you a bit of a taste of what the series is like, art style, timing, paneling, all of it. And then you could consider, do you want to buy it or not. That's actually how I got into One Piece, the manga. It was by reading about it in here. I like the art style, I like the paneling and so on and so forth, so I got it. But yeah, they were free basically. So, but next to that one we have Astro Boy. It is also a retell of the origins of Astro Boy, so not the original story. So I have two retellings of different parts of Astro Boy, but I don't have the original one because I don't want that omnibus. It's too thick. But it is short. It is super sweet. I do adore this series of only 3 volumes. Don't know if you can find it in English, but if you can, definitely give it a go. And then right behind me here we have One Piece, Volume 1 up until Volume 59. That's all we got before it got cancelled. We didn't even manage to get Volume 60, which almost finishes up Part 1. I was actually in talk with the Danish translator doing this series because I had some inputs on how he translated different parts, and then we became rather close up until the series ended, and then we kind of lost contact, which is often how it goes. And I also have the two data books, One Piece Red and One Piece Blue. I don't think they are official, but they do exist. 5 in total, I believe. So it's One Piece Red, One Piece Blue, One Piece Yellow, One Piece Green, and One Piece Ocean Blue. But they're not making any more because now they're making replicas in Japan, and we're not getting them in English because this don't like to translate too much apparently. But yeah, I'm also gonna get the box sets of One Piece at some point. Not yet, but at some point, because again, it's free money for this. But I'm gonna get the box sets instead. And I'm still gonna keep these again because I had insights and inputs to actually translating this series with the translator. But yeah, that's basically my second shelf. We only have one more shelf to go. There's not as much manga in there yet. It's gonna be eventually. But let's get to it, shall we? Alright, we are now on the final shelf case. And this one is probably one of these. I actually think it's the shelf with most different series on it. So let's take a look at it, shall we? First, we have Volume 0 of Ubelblatt. Now, I was actually contemplating on getting the rest from the beginning, but when I got Volume 0, Yenpress did a Yenpress and just discontinued the printing of all the other volumes. So I can probably get 2 or 3 volumes right now, maybe Volume 2, 1, and 8 or something like that. So yeah, I'm not getting more unless I can find the rest of it for cheap, which I haven't been able to, at least until now. So I've not read this volume yet, so I'm probably gonna do it at some point, but for now it's just there as a reminder for me to always check, is the rest of the series still in print or not. Next to that one we have Parasite. It's a funny thing about Parasite, I got it last year because I've always wanted to reading it, but I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. I want to make a review on it. If I actually not pulled the trigger last year, then this year I would actually been able to get the hardcovers colored edition. But it is what it is. I'm not gonna get the colored edition and sell these off. I'm just gonna stick to these because I still think they look awesome. It's quite a good quality of the series, but yeah, it's a bummer, but it happens. I mean, you could say the same with Vinland Saga, because it's gonna get a deluxe edition this year, a 3-in-1 in the same size and format as the Berserk edition, and not quite the same, but similar too, because it's still by Vertical, right? Or not Vertical, Konami Comics. But that's how it is. I don't mind my Vinland Sagas. The size is actually quite fitting for a good reading experience. And the same here. I mean, I don't need the color edition. Maybe I want to get it at some point if I end up enjoying or loving this series, then sure, but until then, no. Next to that one, we have 2 series that really not a manga. First off is the Solo Leveling light novels. I have all volumes that is out right now, and then next to it we have Solo Leveling the manhwa. And the reason it's called a manhwa is because it's from Korea. I have not read the light novels yet. I'm waiting until I have all, I think it's 13 volumes it's gonna be. I'm waiting until I have all of them, then I'm gonna binge read it. But I have read the whole manhwa, and the manhwa is completed, so I know the story in the broader terms. I have not read the manhwa physical yet. I've only read it online. But I'm gonna get to it very, very soon. And the good thing about this is that it is in color, and the printing quality is exceptional, especially considering the price. They are not expensive, they're just normal cost. Next to that one we have Gigantomaxia, which is also by Kentaro Miura. He wanted to do something else beside Berserk. It is a fine read, it is a fine idea and premise. It's too short, kinda feels like just when you think you're about to get into what's the meat of the story, it ends. But as a standalone prologue to a series that's never gonna arrive, it's fine. But I do enjoy it, and of course the art is awesome. And then we have Chainsaw Man. It's a series I have not read yet. I'm going to, after I have finished reading the next series up on here, I'm actually going to read Chainsaw Man. I'm going to be looking forward to see if it lives up to the hype, but it has gotten nothing but hype, both the manga and the anime. But yeah, I managed to actually get all of Chainsaw Man this year, at least part 1. Part 2 has begun releasing in 2022. Getting all of part 1 now seems like exceptional good timing. Then next to that we have Kaiju number 8, which is an awesome simple series. If you have not read it, do it. It is on the Manga Plus app for free. All of it, just go ahead and binge reading it. Simple premise, awesome art, but at least I'm up to date on that one. And then at the tail end we have Rooster Fighter. Rooster Fighter is such a stupid series, but for some reason it works. I can't explain it. It is a rooster at the size of a rooster fighting kaijus at the size of freaking buildings. How does that work? And the dude wins. But it's funny, it's bizarre. Not JoJo's bizarre, but it's still bizarre as fuck. And also, the art is so good. It's amazing art. It has no right to be that good, but yet it is. So that's my shelf right there, and as I said, it's probably the shelf that has most different series on it. I'm pretty sure. I don't think the next one comes close. So, but yeah, let's get on to the next one. Keep the momentum going. Alright, this is the next shelf. It's almost the hardcover shelf, but not really. I mean, we're gonna get to it. At the tail end here, we have Hellsing in the Deluxe edition, also by Dark Horse. I have not yet read this one, but I'm going to at some point. Since it is completed, I am going to do a review on it in the future, but I don't have time for it right now. I've said that many times, but that's the deal. Again, just like the Deluxe edition from Berserk, it's the same dimensions, it's also in hardback, and at the tail end of volume 3 you have in color printing the covers of the 10 singles of Hellsing, which is a nice touch, if I do say so myself, but I'm looking very much forward to reading this series. Next to that one, we have Blame in the Masters Edition. It is a series I managed to complete this year. Again, since I have all of it, I'm gonna do a review on it in the future. I'm still on the fence if I'm gonna get Knights of Sidonia. I'm gonna wait until after I have read Blame to see if it is up my alley, if something I actually enjoy. But we'll see, but I do look forward to reading this series. And then next to that, we have a legend, and that is Fist of the North Star in this beautiful hardcover editions. I don't think it's 2-in-1, but it is based on the Japanese Masters edition, if I'm not wrong. And I've only read what I have right here, so up till volume 6. But the series is simple, but it just executed so well, and it is entertaining as fuck. There's gonna be 18 in total of these, I believe, if I'm not wrong. So we still have a way to go. We only have a third of the way, but I'm following along as they're getting released. Then over here we have Soul Eater, the perfect edition, up until volume 9, which is, with I believe, is what is out as of this recording. And I have also read all of it, and as I stated when I was talking about Fire Force, I do love this series. I think the art style is wacky but different and interesting. The storytelling is awesome. The paneling is interesting, and I'm just looking forward to see what this series is gonna end like. We are over halfway through, but there's still a lot of ground to cover, and I'm looking forward to see how the whole thing is gonna end. From this, I am looking very much forward to reading what Fire Force is gonna be like. Next to that one, we have my other two Danish Akira Toriyama stories. We have Kajika and we have Sandland. They are very interesting compared to Nekomagian. What I like about these stories is it is paneling, art style, humor that you know from Akira Toriyama's work on Dragon Ball, but the storytelling, it is a bit difficult to explain, but it's just so different in here, and it's nice to see what else Akira Toriyama can do when he's not constricted by what Dragon Ball is, template is, right? So it's, again, I'm doing a poor job of actually explaining it, but just know that you really should seek out these two stories because they're so much different, especially Sandland. I love Sandland for how different it was, because it's not epic, powerful, strong people just beating the snot out of each other. It's more human-like people that needs to be strategic with weapons and such to survive. So that's all I'm gonna say about it, but I do love those stories. And again, they're also in Danish because, I mean, all the things I have in Akira Toriyama besides manga theater is in Danish, so I thought it was fitting. And that's basically this shelf, and as I said, it's almost a hardcover, but not really, because we still have Flame and the others. Let's jump down to technically the final shelf. Alright, so this is technically the last shelf. I still have one more series down here. I'm gonna get to it at the end. There's not much of it, and it's the only series on the whole shelf. I don't want to move around too much because I'm a bit tired. This has been going on all day, so I just pretty much want this video to be over. But let's quickly look at this shelf and then get to the end of it. Alright, shall we? First of all, we have Blade of the Immortal in Dark Horse Deluxe Edition. And at this point, you gotta say to yourself, he probably is a fan of Dark Horse Deluxe Editions. And I am. I've read the first 4 volumes of this. First 4 volumes was so awesome. I really do like it. It was different than what I expected from a samurai story, but that's in a good way. So I'm looking forward to the rest of it. There's gonna be 10 in total. So basically, if you have the omnibuses in paperback with the awesome spines, it's the same with these. Has the same content, but the printing quality, since it is the deluxe edition, is so much better, which is why I'm getting these. But yeah, they're gonna be 10 in total, and I will probably not get around to read it until I have all 10. But that's a good thing. Then I can read the rest of it. But right now, I think in this volume we are starting the, as far as I could understand, of the pamphlets that came with it, just explaining the story up until now, is a very infamous prison arc, which has been talked about being one of the best manga arcs ever, just in general, at the same level of the Convention arc and the Golden Age arc, which that's some big views to follow, to fill out, or follow. But I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, that's the Blade of the Immortal. Next to that one right here, we have Martial, Magic and Muscles. It is a fun, simple series. If you have read One Punch Man or read Harry Potter, fuse those together, you basically have Martial. And it doesn't hurt that it's actually not just funny, but also good and insane. Next to that, we have a Record of Ragnarok. It is quite limited what you can do story-wise, character-wise in a tournament arc, because you have this format that's locked down. And Record of Ragnarok, the whole premise is one tournament arc. That's it. That's the story. The first chapter ends with the tournament beginning, and we have not left it. And the whole series is probably gonna end with the tournament finishing. But somehow they make it work. And the art, for the most part, is so awesome. The paneling is awesome. The fights are some of the best fights ever. It keeps you on the toes. You keep going back and forth of who you're gonna think is gonna win the given battle. And also, it's just the best premise ever. It is gods from all mythologies against humans from throughout history. That's it. The art sometimes falters with the facial expression, which is exaggerated for different reasons, and it doesn't really fit in with the rest of the art. But other than that, I do love this series, and I'm up to date for now, and I'm looking forward to see what's gonna come. I mean, I know what's gonna come. I'm reading it online, but I'm looking forward to see it in printed format, because the art does really work as well in printed format. Next to that one, we have Inuyashiki, a series I managed to finish this year, as I said earlier. I've not read it yet. Again, it's completed. Therefore, I need to make a review on it. But I do know it's by the author of Gams. A series I hope is gonna get a deluxe edition next year, considering the omnibus is gonna be finished in April, I believe, March or April. So I hope next year that Dark Horse makes a deluxe edition of that series, because I want it in deluxe edition, and the paperback breaks that they are. But yeah, so I have just skimmed through the first volume, and the art is stupidly gorgeous. Alright, and that's basically this shelf, and we only have one more series to go. And I'm just gonna take it up here. You can also see it in B-roll. But that is Black Clover, volume 1 up until volume 7. That's all I have right now. I am getting more. I have not read it yet, but I have heard a lot of great things about it. Just like Jujutsu Kaisen, it's just a typical shonen with the shonen tropes, but it does it well. And I'm gonna get around to it actually after I have finished Chainsaw Man. But right now I'm reading the paperback editions of Kaiju no Maid. So I'm gonna finish that, even though I have read everything of Kaiju no Maid online. I'm gonna finish it, and then I'm gonna read Chainsaw Man, and then I'm gonna read Black Clover, and then Fire Force, and so on and so forth. But that is my manga collection. And in total, and that is including my 2 German volumes, I have 530 volumes, which is a lot. I now consider myself a professional manga collector, because I passed through my 500 So the next goal is, for me at least, is 750, but that's a long way to go. But it also means that I should next year actually manage to get over 600. But we'll see. But yes, that is my manga collection as of the end of 2022. How does your manga collection look like? Do you have something I have? Do you have something that I don't have? Do I have something that you do not have? And by looking at my collection, which type of series do you think that I'm missing? I know I have absolutely nothing regarding shoujo, but I don't think shoujo is a genre for me. But if I should start somewhere, I think it's gonna be the Orange series, which seems to be what most shoujo fans consider the best entry for non-shoujo readers. But we'll see. It's not something I'm gunning for right now. I have other things to collect, but maybe in the future that could be my entry into shoujo. But looking at my series, do you think there's something that's missing? Something obvious? I know not Vinland Saga. I know Vagabond is something that exists, but I'm not sure I'm a big fan of the Vespex. But we'll see. Well, yes, that is my manga collection. And this has been a stupid long video, as it always is. So I'm just gonna end it here. And I'm looking very much forward to bring you some awesome manga content in 2023. I have plans. They're simple plans, but they are plans. Yeah. Alright. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.